0, 1.
Let's get started.
Bye, crypto bro.
What's going on, crypto fam? It's that guy again, Ball Deep Crypto, coming at you with another piece here, talking a little crypto news. As most of you know, the Genius Act passed today. Big news. Big shout out to crypto. Basically, I want to go over and talk about a few things and a few points that were made out here about it. Obviously, I've been talking about crypto is the future and this and that. You know what I've been talking about if you've been watching my videos. If not, like and subscribe. Check out what I'm talking about. Maybe it resonates with you. Anyways, we're gonna looking at a DHN, Digital Hustle crypto. I'm not so sure about what he said up top about that, but I do want to play what Trump had to say about it and kind of get into that a little bit here in this video. So let's start it up.
Establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins. This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet itself. A lot of people are saying that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes? If you say yes, I'm saying yes. I think it's great that you're involved, I will tell you. Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that. Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that 2 years after I really met you for the first time? The Genius Act provides banks, businesses, and financial institutions a framework for issuing crypto assets backed one for one with real U.S. dollars, treasury bills, and other cash equivalents. It's really strengthening the dollar and giving the dollar great prominence.
All right, so let's get into that. I absolutely 100% agree with what he's saying. And if anybody knows me in person that watches the videos, I've been saying this for a long time. But for those of you that don't know me, the U.S. dollar is the premier dollar in the world. It's printed everywhere. It's taken as currency anywhere and everywhere. It's the numero uno. It's the top dog. Crypto is a way that the U.S. government is going to use to keep itself as the top dog in global currency for the next 100 years. Most people, if you wanted to take your local currency, let's call it Russia. The dollar's up, it's down, it's unstable. What they can do is take their local currency, whether it be a local stable coin or whatever it's going to be, once they get paid with their paycheck, once everything goes digital, they can go onto their phone and transfer it into the USD dollar-backed circle. Well, that's what I'll resonate with, or RLUSD. And they can hold it there because the dollar is more stable than any other currency in the world. So no matter if their dollar's going up, it's going down. When it's high, they can cash it out and get more bang for their buck. It's just a store of value. And by it becoming a store of value, it's going to make and continue to make the U.S. dollar the premier dollar in the world, which is what you want. You don't want the dollar to collapse. If the dollar collapses, you've got money everywhere. And guess what that money has to do when people start using it all across the world and when it stops being the global currency? It has to come home. That's hyperinflation. That is not good. Your dollar is 50 cents if you're lucky once it comes home. So the stable coin is, this being passed is absolutely great. Plus, with the debt that we have with everybody else, and you guys know trillions of dollars of debt, this right here, I think only like $300 billion worth of short-term stocks or commodities our bonds are sold. But now with this being, I think they're going to go away from fiat eventually. I think that when he says it's going to be fiat-based, bond-based, and commodity-based, on July 1st, gold was moved from a tier 3 to a tier 1, which means that Now, instead of it being as a tier 3, if you hold $100 million in gold, you can only count 50 million of it as whatever you're backing. But now, with it being a tier 1, which I think it used to be in the 70s, I'm old, but I wasn't alive and knowing about that in the 70s, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But we're tier 1, which means we're dollar for dollar backed. So now you can count, if you got $100 million in gold, it counts as $100 million of backing, which is, I think, essentially why most of the central banks and most of the governments are buying gold as a store of value. I'm a silver person, as I stated before, but just as a point of reference. And then you're going to take this $300 million, billion dollar industry, and they're going to turn it into trillions with the bonds, short-term bonds, and everything else. So if somebody comes in and they buy a bunch of your crypto dollar, right? Like, let's say RLUSD, which is monitored by the New York Stock Exchange, or Securities and Commission. They come in and do an audit quarterly, and they have to have X amount of dollars, X amount of commodities, X amount of bonds. So if it's $100 million in RLUSD, they have to match it. It's actually a pretty decent way to ledger and account it. I think it's going to go more towards commodities, platinum, gold, silver, etc. And then also it's going to, from there, it's going to go to more short-term bonds. So if somebody wants to cash out, then they'll just sell some of their bonds, and somebody wants to cash in, they'll buy more bonds. And it's actually going to help the bonds and probably help buy up all the treasuries and bonds that other countries are not buying anymore. So just a quick little overview of my thought on that. I actually like it. So let's hear what General Powell has to say about.
We're also, as you know, investing heavily right now in building a new settlement system for instant payments in the U.S. It'll be the first such major expansion of our core payment system since the 1970s. We found the case for this quite compelling for consumers, businesses, and just ensuring that all financial institutions have access to the payment system.
All right, so you heard it. So basically what he's talking about here is just saying we're heavily invested right now in building a new settlement system for instant payments, which fast now, Fed Fast Now. And this guy up here, Levi, is saying we know it's XRP. XRP is cross-border. It's a banking coin, and it will move it within the banks. But when it comes to person, as far as instant payments in the U.S., I just don't see how our XRP is going to do that. Now, if you come down here, I'm a big Stellar guy. Now, I believe that they are, Ripple's involved in this too with the ROUSD, but I think that IBM Worldwide with a Hyperledger is absolutely going to be a player. And, you got Nacha, right? So how many people get a physical check anymore? You know what I mean? People just don't usually get it. What they do is they get a direct deposit to their bank account. That's Nacha. It's ACH. You got the Fed Fast Now. You've got SWIFT involved, and you got the ISO 222, and it comes back to SHX, Stronghold. Which Stronghold is, as small of a company as it is, I believe it's only got like 50, 60, 75, was it 100? No, it's got to be more than that. Whatever their market cap is, it's small relative to be associated with IBM. Now, if you go to Gronk and you ask him who is IBM affiliated with, it was Ripple, Stellar, Stronghold. One of those doesn't line up with the others as far as market cap and size. As you know, if you're a Strongholder, if you're an SHX person, you know that Tammy Camp was the head of development at Stellar. You know that Sean Bennett came from XRP Ripple, helped create both coins on both networks. And you know that Stellar and Ripple, XRP, were the first investors into Stronghold. So there's deep ties and deep connections to all of this. The Nacha, the ACH yearly is $82.5 trillion a year worth of money that flows through it through the ACH with a 3 to 5% annual increase. Stronghold is a preferred partner. I mean, you're talking 1% of that business. You're talking about $900 billion annually of business. That's wild. Currently, just under a penny and a half, I believe. I haven't looked at it. But this is not financial advice, but I mean, hello. Just a heads up on that. I do believe with Juice. There you go, Josh. Shout out to you. Looking good on that call. I agree with you. Now, what I wanted to go into a little bit here was just talk about the bill, right? So we talked about, we know what the Genius Act is for stable coins and what that is. But the next act that's going to come out is going to be the Clarity Act. Now, the Clarity Act is basically going to give us kind of legal clarity and groundwork for what cryptos are, how they're going to be classified, whether they're going to be a commodity or a security. As you can see here, it kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to be. Tokens that are mature. It looks like it's, got clarity passed through the House pretty easily, and it's got bipartisan support. Plus, a lot of money from the crypto world was moved into, in this last cycle and everything else, moved into politics, or the people who vote and make these decisions. And don't think that doesn't matter, because it does. Over 119 million spent on pro crypto candidates. So these people are biased, in my opinion, but money moves the world, and I'm in favor of this. So I'm not against it, but I'm not such a homer that I can't see that some things can be bought and paid for. I mean, facts are facts. They don't give a flip about my feelings or yours. It just is what it is. So here it is, and also, the CBDC Surveillance State Act, which we're going to get into. I'm going to follow that up with a video on that. Passed narrowly. Let's see here. The conclusion, the Clarity Act is the next major cryptocurrency legislation posed for potential approval in the U.S., which we just said. Now, I asked here, which of the top 25 crypto companies do you think will be considered commodities? And what do you think should be considered securities? Itemize them, 34, here it is. Boom, boom, boom. So it's claiming that Bitcoin is going to be a commodity because it's mature, fully decentralized, and not tied to investment contracts. Ethereum, commodity. Tether, stablecoin. Binance, coin, security. Solana, security. Ripple, security, which I found odd because I thought it was not. I thought that it was ruled as it wasn't in the SEC lawsuit. I'm not sure. But maybe because it says here as a security due to centralized control and investment contract characteristics, so I could be off on that. I found it odd that Cardano was a commodity, even though I'm not sure. Maybe it's just a DeFi page. I don't know. I've never used their network. I'm not for sure. Come down here a little bit more. We got Chainlink, Polkadot, security. Litecoin's a commodity, and then everything else is pretty much a security. Cosmos, Stellar, XLM, which we talked about. VeChain. So it kind of gives you just a little idea. It says the Clarity Act's classification hinges on decentralization, which remains subjective and contagious. Critics argue that labeling tokens like SOL and BNB as securities may stifle innovation, while commodity classifications for BTC and ETH could reduce investor protections. So kind of give you a good, the bad. That's all to be sorted out, and I guess we'll all see what's going to happen and go from there. Just want to give you a quick overview of that. My videos seem to run long, so I'm trying to push through a lot of information here for you as quickly as I can. I'm sorry, I'm a yapper. Okay, what does a Clarity Act require from a DEX and a SEX for... Okay, this hits home for a lot of people probably, right? Because a lot of people, don't trust crypto, and there's been a lot of, stories out there about when crypto's been taken from people, and they can't get help, they can't figure out, they can't... Even though it's on a white source, it's a ledger, everything can be traced, people just can't figure out. They seem to not be able to identify these people who are doing these nefarious acts, which is BS. Disturbing, to be honest with you. But anyways, so it's here, the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act establishes specific requirements for centralized DEXs, SEXs, and decentralized exchanges, DEXs, to prevent fraud, scams, and the use of on-off ramps to launder stolen cryptocurrency in the United States. Now, the requirements for a centralized exchange, which is a SEX, they must register SEX trading digital commodities, must register with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission as a digital commodity exchange. Okay, anti-fraud, it says SEXs must implement rules to ensure market integrity, fair access, transparency, and operational resiliency. This includes surveillance and listing standards to detect and prevent fraud and market manipulation. Now, the anti-money laundering, AML, and know your customer compliance. SEXs are subject to the Bank Secrecy Act, the BSA, requiring robust AML and KYC program, including appointing an AML officer, conducting customer identity verification, and reporting suspicious activities, potential laundering of stolen crypto. KYC and AML compliance helps trace funds moving through fiat on and off ramps, making it harder for scammers to convert stolen crypto to fiat anonymously. Beautiful. I know a lot of people want to be, I want to be secret, I want to be this, but there has to be rules of the road here, because there are going to be people out there that are going to do nefarious acts. They're going to steal your stuff. I'm about to curse there, but it's true. So you and everybody else should say, hey, if you want to take this into cash, you should have to identify yourself. I know that's not going to sit well with everybody, but to me it sits well because there are people out there who are going to do things. They're going to take your money, and you're going to hope that you've got these guidelines and regulations in place, because you're just giving somebody an anonymous avenue to do whatever they want, move it around, and never have to be account for anything and any one of their actions, because some people know how to use computers, they know how to backtrack, they know how to move it around, they know how to keep themselves anonymous. So good on this. I actually like this part of the bill. I believe that in any and all DEXs and or sexes should be accountable too. If they're not upholding and holding to these standards, and they're not doing their due diligence, we as consumers and people who have been defrauded, we should be able to go to these customers and hold them accountable, because they are basically allowing these these criminals to go on to these platforms and use them to exchange stolen crypto, and then not have any accountability on it while they make money doing it. There needs to be accountability to them to the fullest degree. They should take this very seriously. That should be taken seriously by anybody that's in that business. And if it's not, they should be sued for not being serious about it and not holding people to accord to those regulations and standards to protect everybody, because everybody's going to be in this. Everybody that's in it needs to be protected. Just like they are now, if somebody were to steal your credit card or whatever else, there needs to be the same regulatory and legal guidelines for everybody. So hopefully that does happen. And it says here, requirements for the DEX. Obviously, DEXs operate smart contracts, typically not hold user assets. These are basically, wallet creations, DeFi, user interfaces, etc. So they're not to the same standards of the AML and KYC. So while the Clarity Act strengthens oversight of sexes, its lighter touch on DEXs may leave gaps for scammers exploiting non-custodial platforms, especially if you use mixers or privacy-focused tokens to obscure stolen crypto. See, I'm still stuck in the fiat world. So, looking at it and seeing what it is, I do think the Clarity Act is going to help. It's going to help elevate it. I really do feel like rules of the road and the KYC and the AML are absolutely needed for exchanges that are going to be transferring of crypto, because they have no idea where it came from. They have no idea how this person obtained it. Nothing like that. If you are not a nefarious character, you should have no problem identifying, because you can always prove what you put in and how much you made or how much you lost. It's just rules of the road. It's just going to be the way that it is. We're not just going to let it be the Wild West and people just do whatever they want. So absolutely. So again, that's a kind of quick overview of what it is. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe. I'm going to drop a short video here about the CBDCs, which is another sensitive subject to people. But again, this is done off the top of my head, no edits. Hope you enjoyed it. And like I like to say, chase a check, never chase a bit.